Sawadee Kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today, I'm going to be guiding you in a loving kindness meditation session. This is part of our group learning program where we meet together every Sunday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Thai time and 9 p.m. Thai time. I help students to be able to progress to this enlightened mental state. And the loving kindness meditation is an important part of your practice because it's essentially rewiring your mind to be loving and kind, where you can be loving and kind to all beings, not only others, but to yourself as well. Sometimes the mind has ill will or anger or frustration directed toward yourself, even negative self-talk or this inner dialogue where you're degrading and diminishing yourself. So I'd like to invite you to join for this meditation where I'm going to start with some chanting to ease us into the meditation. Then I'm going to come in with some guidance for the breathing mindfulness meditation. Then it's going to be quiet for a period of time where we're just doing that, just a short little bit. Then we're going to come in with these affirmations where there'll be things like, may I be peaceful. And you'll do that on the out breath, repeating that in the mind. You're going to hear me saying it out loud, but you would like to repeat that in the mind on the out breath. Then you're going to hear things like, may I be safe. May I be well, and may I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. These are affirmations that you're using to essentially rewire your mind so that the mind can become more loving and more kind. You can get to the point where your mind's permeating with loving kindness, and then you can go out into the world and be loving and kind with all those around you. So it's not only may I, but you're going to see we're going to go through different rings like mom and dad and friends and family and other individuals like this. And then we're going to eventually get to all beings because you'd like to have love and kindness for all beings around you. And you can cultivate this in your meditation and then through the Eightfold Path, go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And that's where the real transformation is occurring in your day-to-day life. So it starts with this meditation. And then after those affirmations that you're going to hear me walk you through and you're repeating in your mind on the out breath, we're going to go back to the breathing mindfulness meditation. Then we're going to come out of that with some more chanting. And then what I'm going to do is just open up to any and all questions that you guys might have, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. You can ask any and all questions that you like. So if you'd like to join for meditation, you might pull up a meditation cushion or anything else. And I'm going to do this chanting to ease us into the meditation, which you guys are welcome to join in on. I teach this at different times in all the programs that I share. So after this, I'll be back in with the guidance. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Utang Bhagavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakato roka vitu Anuttero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating your mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these affirmations in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May my family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who have harmed me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Otang Mahakawanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakawata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso mahakava สัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see you in class today, whether you're joining in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or maybe you're watching this on the replay. I would like to just be sure you understand a little bit more about this meditation. Then I'm going to open up to any questions that you guys have. It's important to keep in mind that when you're doing loving kindness meditation, that you're not trying to change other people. Sometimes with these affirmations or these phrases that you're doing, sometimes people think that maybe you're invoking some kind of special power or some being like God to try to change others so that mom and dad will become more loving and kind, right? That's not what you're doing here. You actually can't change other people through your meditation. If it was as easy as changing other people through our meditation, there would be no such thing as prisons or anything like this. There would be no rapes or murders because we would just all sit around and meditate and change other people. So it's not actually possible to change other people through your meditation. So what you're doing here is you're working to do this inner work where you're essentially rewiring your mind to become more loving and kind so that then as you are now interacting with those people, that then you can be more loving and kind. And that's what's going to transform your mind and transform your relationships. Where oftentimes in our relationships, we attempt to change the other person, and that's not going to produce peace and joy in your life. You need to be able to work on your own mind so that then through doing the loving kindness meditation and all the other factors of the Eightfold Path, that you can go out in the world and be loving and kind. One of the ways that you might think about this is like filling up your gas tank. And now you go out into the world through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, being more loving and kind through your day-to-day interactions. And now that other person who's being angry and frustrated and bitter and hostile, they can see that it's their mind that's causing that. It's not coming from you because you're being loving and kind. And as you bring your practice up to this point where you can be loving and kind consistently for a long-term basis, more and more this other person can see that it's their own mind that's causing these discontent feelings, and you can rest at ease knowing that you haven't caused their discontentedness. And now by being loving and kind, slowly but surely, you can transform your mind and transform your relationships. As you're doing this meditation, you're not going to know each day how much of the anger and hatred that you're wearing away. But when it's completely gone, you're going to know that. So each meditation, each day, there's going to be gradual wearing away of your anger, hatred, ill will, and even all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, and even the slightest dislike towards others. That dislike that you have is coming from your own mind because there are certain expectations that you have in your mind, wanting other people to be a certain way. And when they meet that expectation and that craving, you'll like them. But when they're not meeting your expectations, you'll dislike them. So you can get to the point where you have love and kindness. You don't even have the slightest dislike for others because you understand that everybody's different and they're all going to be making decisions differently than you. So you can transform your mind to get away from this, but it's going to be gradual. And the Buddha uses a great analogy here where he talks about this digging tool, that each day when you're digging with this tool that has a wooden handle, you're wearing away wood each day from the wooden handle, but you don't know how much wood you're wearing away. But when the handle needs to be completely replaced because it's completely worn out, you'll know that. And the same thing is true with your anger and even your lesser versions like frustration or dislike towards others. Each day, you're not going to know how much of it you're wearing away through your meditation and then going out into the world and be loving and kind. But when it's completely gone, you'll know that because you're going to see certain relationships where you used to get angry and frustrated, you'll clear those up. And it'll be kind of like one at a time. And you'll notice like, wow, over here with my parents, I've been able to be loving and kind. And with my brothers and sisters, I've been able to be loving and kind. But maybe my life partner and my children, this is like more challenging for you. Maybe you have deeper attachment in those situations. Or maybe you'll notice that your friends and your coworkers and your boss, you can be loving and kind in those situations. But now over here with your parents or your siblings, you have difficulties with that. So you'll be able to gradually transform your mind. And this is where you need to have confidence in the teachings, that you see that they're working to gradually improve your mind. So I'm going to pause and see what kind of questions you guys have. I'll just kind of, go through the rest of the class with any questions that you guys have. Whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, you can put those in the comments section and I'll see those. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any questions that you like that way. So it looks like Yusuf might have some questions. Go ahead, sir.
Evening.
I'm sorry?
Evening. Good evening.
Oh, good evening. Good evening.
Is my voice clear? I'm using my headphones. Is it hearable or without the microphones better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. I would like to make sure to understand the topic we were talking about in Messenger, which is singleness of mind. I am seeing some contradiction or conflict in what you are saying, not understanding what you are saying. You say, when I am walking or running on the machine, I should let go of thoughts to practice singleness of mind. But then when I walk in the street, you say, if you have wholesome thoughts, it's fine to think about it. So why hear this? Why hear that?
Yeah, what you asked me is whether or not you should play music while you're walking on the treadmill, and would that be singleness of mind? And what I share with you is that wouldn't be singleness of mind, and it would be wise for you to get rid of the music. And you asked me, when you're walking on the street, what should you do? And these were, separated by multiple days. And I said, you should cut off the unwholesome thoughts that are coming up in the mind.
No, I think you have a misunderstanding. What you said is true, but the first question was I think 10 days ago about music and running on a machine. That is not singleness of mind, but I am talking about the 2 days ago, which is walking or running on the machine and walking in the street. When in machine, you said to have singleness of mind and to let go of thoughts, to practice singleness of mind. But in streets, you said it's fine to have wholesome thoughts.
No, I wouldn't have said that, Yusuf. I think maybe we can go back and revisit that, because I wouldn't have said that if I understood what it is that you're asking. In both of those situations, there's no difference from being on the machine to walking on the street.
Okay, so let me ask it now again. Is walking on the machine or running and thinking about the situation, would it be singleness of mind still?
What you would like to do is you would like to focus on the walking. That's what you would really like to focus on. But there's going to be thoughts that come up in the mind as you are walking. And what you would like to do is cut off any unwholesome thoughts that are coming up while you're walking.
So it would still be singleness of mind if I were running and maybe thinking about the situation happened yesterday.
You're not interested in actively attempting to think about things. That wouldn't be practicing singleness of mind. You would like to cut off and let go of anything that's coming up in the mind. So as you're walking, if you're noticing unwholesome thoughts coming up, you cut that off and let that go. But you don't need to cut off the wholesome thoughts. But you're not interested in actively attempting to have those thoughts. It's just that if a wholesome thought comes up while you're walking, there's no harm in that. But if an unwholesome thought comes up while you're walking, you would like to cut that off. Because maybe I'm walking down the street and I'm intending to go to a certain restaurant, and I'm walking down the street and I'm headed towards this restaurant. But then out of the corner of my eye, I see this other sign for this other restaurant, and maybe they have a buy one, get one free waffle or something, right? And it catches my eye and I'm like, oh, wow, that would be really wonderful if I could go get that buy one, get one free, because it's going to reduce my food cost. And now I can go enjoy this waffle and give one to somebody else as well. So if you were to cut off every thought that you were having as you were walking, you wouldn't be able to act upon things like that. So that's why I share that when you're walking down the street, if you have unwholesome thoughts, you cut that off. But you're not trying to actively think anything. You're thinking about walking to that restaurant. But now as you're walking down the street, you catch the sign and like there's a thought here, maybe I'll go to this other restaurant instead. you don't need to cut that off. There's no harm there. You might decide to pursue that.
I think I understood. So let me just make sure. So like if I were like walking or running on the machine, the nature of the mind will arise some thoughts. So if there was a thought like, I am running and also listening to music. Let me ask David to make sure if this is singleness of mind or not. So I think about that. Maybe I stop running and write the question in the phone, but I should not be keep thinking and thinking about it and other questions and other solutions, because that would be out of my task here, which is running on the machine, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So I will talk about a different topic here now. There is something happened to me a couple days ago, and I would like to share it. Would you like to listen? You hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Would you like to listen to what I would like to share? It's not a question, something I would like to share.
If you have
Maybe like you have some thoughts about it.
If you have some questions, I can help you with those. If you would like to share something personal, I think that it's probably better to talk in a personal discussion. But, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to ask those.
Okay. Let me just make sure, please. Okay. So when I interact with girls and I interact with a craving in the mind, and you know how much craving I have for them, I notice that I become like at my highest amount of discontent feelings. Like one example, a couple days ago when I was talking to the girl that I have interest in her, which is underlying a big craving for her, I was shaking so much. Like if I want to shake anymore, I will cry because of how much I was shaking while talking to her. And that is because of my craving. So yesterday, I thought of sending her a message online. And I usually, when I send messages to girls I have interest in, which is a craving, I take maybe 1, 2, 3 days till I become able to send her a message. But yesterday, I noticed that I am looking at girls in a craving way instead of an interest way. So I changed the way I think and said instead of chasing after her as a craving, I should be like just trying to get to know her and see or observe her mind and how she interacts with me and how she will respond to my speech and actions. And when I was thinking that, I noticed that no fear arose in the mind, and I was immediately able to send the messages. Do you have any comments on this?
What you transitioned to is a better way to approach these kinds of things instead of sitting there and obsessing about her appearance or any other aspect of her physical body or who she is as a person, like in terms of her financial status or social status. Instead of obsessing over all that stuff, it's better to just get to know this person as a human being. Not that you want anything from this person or you expect anything from this person, but just get to know them as a human being and see if this is the type of individual that you're interested in spending time with. So what you were talking about that you started doing later, that's actually wise. And that's why you were able to contact that person without fear, because you had knocked down your craving.
Okay. So when I felt so much relief in the mind, and I'm interested in seeing I'm interested in ways to try to improve things for girls. One of the ways is to just accept them as a body.
Our connection's breaking up, Yusuf. I'm not really
let that go.
I'm not really getting your communication. I thought maybe it might stabilize, but it's not stabilizing.
Is there anyone asking any question? I can switch to my data.
Yeah, I can.
But that would disconnect me.
Yeah, I can go to Paul. Mhm.
Okay.
All right. All right, Paul, you're up.
Yeah, it's David. Question. In your training there for lovingness meditation, you always bring up first off uh, your mother and father, your parents. Is uh, uh, is there is it? I mean, why is that always there? Is that does that apply to everybody, or only those who have, say, issues with their parents, type of thing?
Yeah, you're going to need to customize this meditation based on your life, and that's where your mindfulness comes in. And when I'm doing this in a way that applies to everybody, because everybody has parents, right? They might be no longer in existence in this human realm, but everybody has had parents, or else we wouldn't have come into the world. And then we all have family, friends, coworkers, and neighbors, unless we're retired, right? And then we have people who have harmed us. We have people that we've harmed, and then of course all beings. So you're going to need to customize this. I start with parents because what you would like to do is start with like a ring or two of people that you do have loving kindness towards. Of course, starting with yourself and ending with all beings. But then you would like to have a ring or two of people that you do have loving kindness towards. And typically people have it towards their parents, even though they might have some bitterness and hostility in there that's coming from their craving, desire, attachment. There's some amount of loving kindness. And this will help to kind of bubble it up in the mind so that then the mind can be filled up with some loving kindness and then kind of kind of spill over into some of these other rings. So the meditation that I do, you wouldn't necessarily be interested in repeating it just like that in your own life, because you're going to need to customize it for your specific needs, whether it's a person or a group of people that you have anger, hatred, or ill will towards, or even the slightest dislike. You're going to need to include them, and you might actually use names. So you might use mom and dad, if that's what you would like to do. If you feel like you have some resentment or hostility or bitterness towards them, you're going to need to include them, even if they're no longer in existence. Because as long as your mind has any kind of anger, even for people who have passed away, then the mind is not liberated, it's not free. So yes, you can include people that you have anger, hatred, and ill will towards, but you can also include people who you currently have loving kindness for in order to bubble that up and be able to kind of spill over into some of these other groups. And you're going to need to use specific names. Mom and dad is easy because most of us call our parents that. But, if there's a person named Bob in your neighborhood, or an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or a coworker or something like this that you've had contact with in the past, where either you're currently in relationships with them, or maybe you're not in a relationship and you'll never be in a relationship with them ever again. If you have anger and hatred in your mind, you're going to need to let that go. And you would like to include them as a name. Or some people say, for example, hate all politicians, or they hate all police officers, or something like this, or lawyers, or something like this. You're going to need to say, may all politicians be peaceful, right? May they be safe, well, and free of discontentedness. So you would be wise to customize this for yourself. And if you'd like to include mom and dad regularly, you can, but that's a choice for you to make. I do it because these are rings that tend to apply to everybody.
Okay, so it's not something that you would do on a regular basis yourself, because you do it for either because you want to bubble up loving kindness because of them being your parents, or you might have some residual anger towards them. But you would still use them if you did have that anger, even though they've passed away years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Second question is, when breathing, um, I always, sort of overthink it, as I'm sure many do, is because you're trying to just do it right, and you tend to emphasize your breathing, and sometimes what you're doing, and probably is not correct, is should you be breathing what you would consider to be deep breathing? Like, should you, when you go to the doctors and say breathe deep, Is that the kind of breathing you should be doing when you're breathing in? Should you be taking in a lot more or more air, let's just say, than you would normally take in when you're just doing when you're living your life normal and you're not meditating? Do you take in more air or you just take it in slower?
I take in more air, and I do take it in slower as well. So the lungs are more full during the meditation versus in just day-to-day life. Because in day-to-day life, we kind of breathe however we're going to breathe. It's not so deep, but it's not necessarily shallow either. But in day-to-day life, that's how you're breathing, and you're not necessarily breathing, as slow as you do during meditation. But in meditation, you really slow down the breath because that's going to slow down the mind, and you really elongate the breath to bring in more volume. Right? We talked about this,
Okay.
there's a certain, volume that each person can maintain, and then the rate of breath would be similar from person to person as you're breathing in meditation. But you're definitely not getting to the point where you're like full capacity lungs, you're not doing that, but you're also not like really shallow with your breath either.
Yeah.
You'd like to be in the middle, but it is deeper and slower than in day-to-day life.
And on the out breath, is it common or normal to hesitate before taking in, to bringing in more air? Like what I seem to do when I'm meditating is because I'm conscious of what I'm doing, I tend to exhale as much air, almost all the air that I have in my lungs, and then I hesitate or pause before I start taking new air in. Is that okay? Is that common to do that? Is that recommended?
Yeah, that's normal. I call that like a gap where as you're transitioning from inhale to exhale or exhale to inhale, there's like a little gap there. And it's not like you're trying to elongate that, but it just gives the mind the body a transition and the mind a transition from the inhale to exhale. And in that moment, you're observing that gap. You're just looking at the gap where it's not like, it's there's that little gap there that gives the body and the mind kind of like a little bit of a break. But the mind's still looking at that gap. And that's like a lot of peacefulness, a lot of joy is in that gap. Um, and you can, just be very peaceful, almost like you're standing on the head of a needle, during that period of time.
Okay, yeah. So the idea is,
We lost you too, Paul. Looks like the Wi-Fi is
trying
not.
to, fill your lungs, and then when you go
Yeah, we're losing you too, Paul. Looks like your signal.
to take in new air.
I didn't get all of that. Your signal went in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying that I was sort of summarizing that, you do take in more air than you normally do in day-to-day life, but you don't try to fill your lungs to the max.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you exhale, you take all the air out, but you then typically pause before you take new air.
Yeah. And when you're exhaling, you're not completely emptying every last little, bit of air that's in the lungs. There's still some in there. It's just that, you've gotten to a point where maybe you're at 5 or 10%, right? And now you bring it back in. So you're not,
Okay.
you're maybe kind of oscillating between 10 to 90%, or maybe even 20 to 80%,
Okay.
perhaps. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Good, good. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Yusuf, do you still have questions?
Yeah, I don't remember what I heard. Oh, now I do remember. You're hearing me clearly, right? I
I
switched the internet.
I can hear you, but it's not so clear.
Hmm. Okay, let's try and see. So do you have any idea of ways I can do to reduce, not eliminate, to reduce my cravings for growth? I'm thinking of doing, and I am doing that meditation to reduce sexual cravings. And I think it's working because I am now not looking at them as a body, but I'm not having those thoughts. Therefore, I look them as like human beings. So do you have any other ways? Because my craving to girls is so big that it's a little bit difficult for me to keep track on all the ways that I can do to reduce that.
Yeah, so, of course, the Eightfold Path and all the factors there to include breathing mindfulness meditation, the meditation to eliminate sexual cravings. But then in the moment, when you're seeing your mind longing, yearning, and you're looking at that particular woman and your mind is longing, yearning for her and looking and becoming obsessed with that, you're going to need to restrain the mind and pull it back and go in the other direction. That's the right effort that you need to apply.
Okay, it's good that this year I am seeing these cravings clearly, not like the years before where I just unable to have the vision to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is one thing that I have noticed in human beings that the quickest, the easiest, and maybe the best way to have a relationship with someone is by a continuous talk with them, talking to them. If you can think about someone like in the past, maybe or even these days, who is kind of like a glue sticking at your back, talking continuously and always. If you were to think about him, he would be like having a lot of friends and he can be a friend with like anyone because he talks too much. And I'm not saying that this is wise or unwise. It's just that I have seen that talking to people continuously is the way to become their friend. But I have never been such a guy, and I have had poor skills uh, regarding social specialty, I think. So I am kind of curious to know, is this way fine or it's gonna make me look like a glue and it's not favorable by people? You follow up my question?
Yeah, talking to someone continuously is unwise because it's just allowing your mind and their mind to become attached. So if you have a person who you're maybe interested in spending time with, and maybe this is a potential life partner, you're not interested in talking with them every day because you guys are just going to get super attached to each other. And then when there's a time where you don't talk, your mind's going to be highly discontent, and so is theirs. So if you have love and kindness for the people around you, you wouldn't talk to them every day. If there's anybody in your life that you're talking to every day, you would be wise to change that and spread that out so that you're not allowing that to continue, because that's how the mind's going to get attached, both your mind and their mind as well.
And that's true. There's an individual that he got so much attached to me, and the last 2 weeks he is always fighting with me. So I blocked him, and I told him maybe a month later I will be speaking to you again till your mind becomes more calm.
See, that's putting expectations on them.
Um, it's just that I am not interested in having a relationship with such an individual, and I don't have the ability to just ignore his messages because I am attached to him also. So I did that way. This is like the only way that I can handle this situation here.
No, the part where you said, I'm not going to be talking to you until your mind becomes more calm, that's putting an expectation on that person and saying, I can't be your friend unless you do it this way. And that's not going to produce the best results for you. If you know this person's mind is uncalm and unstable and you're not interested in spending time with them, then just make that choice and don't spend time with them, rather than trying to tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing in order for you to spend time with them.
So I remember that I told him that because you are fighting with me every day, I am gonna block you so that you have this month like of being away from me, so that your mind will calm down. I don't think that I told him until you calm down, I will speak with you again. So with what I described here will be an expectation.
That's giving people unsolicited guidance. Still telling them what they should or shouldn't be doing. You need to just get to the point where you just make a decision about what you should or shouldn't be doing. And you don't need to communicate that decision to other people and tell them what you're doing. If they ask you, like say you block somebody on Facebook or wherever you're communicating, and then they see you in school next week and they're like, hey, Yusuf, I saw you block me. Why? Now they're asking you, and you can share that with them. But just giving them unsolicited guidance, telling them why you're doing things and putting expectations on them, all you're going to get from that is they're going to be putting expectations on you and telling you, they're going to say, well, I'm not going to be your friend until you do this, right? And now you guys are stuck in this back and forth of putting expectations on each other.
I actually did not want to hurt her mind of just like blocking her suddenly, so I sent that message to let her know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not wise to do that. It's better to just make your decision and move on.
Okay. Okay. One thing that transformed my mind tremendously, and in an indescribable way is identifying my craving. It's either like wanting people to be in a certain way or fearing their unpositive reaction, like their negative reactions. Like let's say that I don't know you and I saw you in the street and I was standing next to you in the line and I told you a joke and you said, "Who are you? Just go away, go away. I don't want to talk to you." So here I will become so much discontent. So I think like the craving is wanting you to be a certain way instead of maybe sharing your negative reaction about what. Anyway, do you know any way that I can put my mind in such a situation, such situations, to hear the negative out of people, or I don't know?
I didn't hear you 100%, but based on what I'm hearing, you're going to be able to experience that in life, Yusuf. There's going to be plenty of people that are talking negative and degrading and diminishing ways because you have a certain amount of unwholesome gamma that you're going to need to extinguish. So that's all going to be coming back to you. And when it's coming back to you, you need to extinguish it. But you don't need to go out into the world and try to get people to talk to you in a negative way, but it will happen because of your unwise decisions in the past. It's going to be happening. And now when it's happening, you work to extinguish that.
Okay, one of the things I noticed is I crave for a reaction from myself, like let's say that you yelled at me. I noticed that the mind become discontent thinking of what I should do here. And when I like told the mind to like just ignore it, the mind like got a little bit discontent. So I should not be asking you what you do when someone maybe yell at you or insult you or anything, because there are countless situations and countless uh, forms. So would you just ignore someone who maybe insulted you or yelled at you, or maybe you were standing and he told you that, sit down, I can't see the game because you're standing?
Each situation is going to be different, but for the most part, yeah, I'm going to ignore. I'm not going to talk to someone who's demanding, putting expectations on me, speaking harshly. That's not the proper time to talk to that person. So for the most part, you could be sure that I'm not going to say anything to that individual. I'm just going to make decisions that I know to be wise.
Just out of curiosity, let's say that you were standing and yelled at you to sit down so that you can see the game. Like, I don't see any response I can give to that individual because he's putting the blame on me, and no matter what I say, he will not change his perspective. So, like, have you had an experience where someone maybe yelled at you or insulted you and you replied to him? Like, what did you say to him? Just curious to know.
I wouldn't do that if someone's being insulting, degrading, diminishing, speaking harshly, putting expectations on you. There's no reason to reply to that person because there's no beneficial result that's going to come from that.
Then would you sit down? Yell to sit down?
Well, say we're like in a stadium, right? And I'm sitting in the front and I stand up and I'm cheering, and then there's someone behind me that can't see. Well, I'm making an unwise decision to stand up in that situation because I know there's people behind me watching, and would be unwise to stand up because I'm blocking their view. So if I'm interested in standing up, I'm going to stand up, exit out of the aisle, and go to the back and stand up where I'm not blocking anybody's view. So if you're standing up and someone's yelling and hollering at you, that's your unwholesome karma because of your wrong action. And that's why that person's doing that. So you need to be able to understand right and wrong action with the bodily actions and be able to step aside if you're going to stand up and go stand up in the back where you're not blocking anybody.
So if I told you that I don't like your glasses, you will keep wearing them to help me let go of my expectation. This is something that you would share, right?
Yeah, but in that situation, I'm not causing any harm by wearing the glasses. By you standing up in a stadium, you're blocking people's view, and now they paid for that view, and now you're causing harm to that individual.
Yeah, I still haven't asked my question. So you are here helping me to let go of my craving for the glasses, but I think because you know me, like I'm a friend or something. But that guy is something that you don't know. So would you like maybe keep standing or doing this kind of stuff to help him let go of physical healing, or you just like ignore him and don't bother?
I wouldn't stand up to begin with in order to be in that situation because I know it would be causing harm. Uh, but I wouldn't continue to stand just because that person is yelling and hollering. That wouldn't be a wise choice because you're continuing to practice wrong action and you're going to continue to get unwholesome karma from it. You seem to think sometimes in your questions that your goal in this life is to go out and get other people to practice these teachings and get other people to let go of their cravings and get other people to get to enlightenment. That's not what you would like to focus on. It sounds like you have a craving to be able to help others and convince others to get to enlightenment. You're going to need to let go of that craving.
There are a lot of things that I still unable to see. Like for example, when you kept telling me for maybe 1.5 years to practice the Eightfold Path, I wasn't able to see how beneficial that would be for me. But after 1.5 years, I saw that. And when you kept telling me to that I have a certain way of asking questions, which is I don't know how to describe it, laws and commandments, or give me one way for all the different situations. I wasn't able to see that, but like 2 weeks ago, I started to see that, yeah, I am craving to be in a certain way, so give me one rule to put in all these different situations. So maybe now what you are describing is something that I still don't see or unable to understand, but maybe in the future.
Yeah. Like I've shared with you, people who come from a Muslim background, even sometimes in Christian background too, they tend to look for rules and commandments. They want it to be one way. And the more you get away from that, the better. The more you understand the Eightfold Path, because based on your question that you just asked, you're not yet fully understanding the Eightfold Path, how that would be wrong action for you to stand up and block somebody else's view. So you're going to need to be able to make sure you understand the Eightfold Path and practice that more and more closely.
I didn't clarify that thing to you because I didn't feel necessary, so I will now. I did not mean to stand up and cheer for the game because, yeah, that would be wrong action. But I meant like maybe you were looking for a chair, you were trying to buy something, so you need to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't think would be wrong action. It would be right action because this is something needed, right?
Yeah, in that situation, like say you're standing up to buy a drink from somebody selling food in the stands, and if somebody starts yelling and hollering at you, I would just ignore them, finish what I'm doing to buy the drink, and then just sit down and enjoy the game. That's what I would do. I would just ignore that person yelling and hollering back there. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to elongate the situation just because I'm trying to help that person to eliminate their craving. That's not wise.
Okay. One last question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any way that could help me to arise mindfulness in how to describe it, like in daily life? Like, so now while I am in my room, it's easy. While I'm talking to you, it's easy. But when I go out with my friends, it's a little bit difficult. And even if I try to keep track of my mindfulness, like let's say that I had this glimpse of mindfulness that now I am aware, when I try to keep having it and instead of just let it go, it stays with me for like maybe 10 seconds and goes away. So you know any way to enhance that?
Yeah, this is where I share with you that you don't yet know the Eightfold Path, Yusuf, because this is part of the core central teaching of the Eightfold Path. Where mindfulness comes from is your breathing mindfulness meditation, that you cultivate that in your meditation. Then in your day-to-day life, you apply right effort to be able to cut off and let go of the unwholesome quality. And then you apply effort to arise the wholesome quality. That's part of the Eightfold Path that you would know to do that if you understood the Eightfold Path deeply.
Yeah, I am not watching any of your next videos, which is like after the Eightfold Path, and I'm sticking with the Eightfold Path. So it has been like 2 years that I am now sticking with the Eightfold Path, and I'm planning to stay with it, like maybe 1, 2, 3 years till I see the other videos. Do you think this would be wise, or like maybe right now I need to see the other videos?
I think it would be wise for you to refresh your memory on the Eightfold Path, because even though you've studied it in the past and we've talked about it to confirm whether or not you understand it, based on your questions, it's showing that you still have a lack of understanding of it. So it's not uncommon for people to revisit that multiple times. So I definitely encourage you to go back and learn the Eightfold Path.
I think I revisited like 2 months ago, but the thing that I have noticed is that I only focused on the right speech. I haven't been focusing on anything else than that. Like when I asked you about singleness of mind, that was completely new for me. So I need to focus on the other factors too.
Yeah, all these factors are working together. You wouldn't be able to practice right speech without the mental discipline section of the Eightfold Path. So it would definitely be recommended for you to go back and refresh your memory of the entire path.
Okay, thank you, and I love you.
Okay, love you too, Yusuf.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions anywhere. I don't see any other questions anywhere. So what I'm going to do then is just end class by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow and develop on the path to enlightenment. As you guys would like to learn more, I have more classes that are coming up on Saturday and Sunday. There's the Pali Canon and English Study Group, and the group learning program is on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to be in this book, Chapter 16, which is titled Dissolving the Ego. Ego serves no purpose. I'm going to teach you what the ego is, the symptoms of it, of how it's causing complications in your day-to-day life. And then I'm going to teach you how to actually eliminate it from the mind. And then on next Wednesday, I'm going to be doing breathing mindfulness meditation with students and opening up to any and all questions that you have. So between Sunday and Wednesday, that's the group learning program that'll help you. And if you get this book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment, you can download it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions at our temple here in Chiang Mai, Thailand, or you can order it on Amazon and you can get copies that way. That's what's going to help you to gradually learn the entire path to enlightenment. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. Perhaps I'll see you guys in a future class. Be well and take care. Sawadee ka. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.